In this video, I'm gonna take a small update, um, and I'm going to apply that to the game, and we're gonna go through the whole process from step 0 all the way to a pull request to master to give everybody an idea kind of like how the workflow works and how to use Git in correlation with GitHub. So, starting from step 0, let's pretend like we were talking to the client, and the client says, I want it to where when you go to the apartment, I want to spend 2 significant action points instead of 1. And just to clarify what that is, I'll show you this in the game. So if I go ahead and open Unity Hub and then I open the project, um, so there's a few different scenes you're going to want to load and get familiar with. The first one is new main menu. When you start at a new main menu, this is starting at the very beginning of the game. But if you don't want to mess with any part of the game that includes the main menu and you just want to jump into something, you can switch over to world map. And so now when you start the game, basically you'll start the game at a point right past the world map. And so here there's this initial dialogue right here. I just wanted to get out of the way so this is easier to see the rest of this. Okay, so the client says, okay, when you go here, right now, see I have 2 actions left, and when I spend some time in my apartment, feel well rested, and now I have 1 action point left. So every time I go here, I'm spending 1 action points. And the update that we want to do to the game is we want 2 action points spent. So what we're going to do is quit the game, and we're going to start. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to the GitHub repository, and if you notice, there's all these different branches, and so each task is going to be associated with a branch, and you do that through issues. So we're going to make a new issue, which is update apartment, and we could just put like a little comment in that says, change action points spent from 1 to 2 when using apartment. Okay. So now we got a new issue created, and the issues should correlate to whatever tasks you have in your sprint. So let's say my sprint this week is to do this update apartment. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an issue, and then this issue is going to get assigned to me. And then this is an enhancement feature for the game. And so you also want to make a branch for the issue, and it needs to be linked. The branch and the issues need to be linked together. It makes keeping track of things go very smoothly. So we have this new branch, and if you notice, it will give you some Git commands to help you out here. So now that we've made our branch and we've made an issue associated to that branch, we're going to go over here to Git, and the first thing you'll notice is right now it says I'm in the master branch, and earlier when I was using the game, you saw me do a couple things and make some changes. So now if I do a get status, you're going to see, when I click play, the play results made the GitHub user file was created, and some other files are modified. So if we want to, let's say, go back in time and do a do-over as if I didn't do what I said in the beginning of the video, what we'll do is a get reset hard along with a get clean fxd. Okay, so now if I do get status, I'm on a clean working tree. Okay, so you'd want to run these two commands. Let's say if you're just testing something out for a second and you're like, oh man, I just totally messed everything up. You'll just go back to your clean working tree like this, and everything will be all hunky-dory. So right now we're going to look at our branches. So these are our branches we have right now, and so we want to start tracking our GitHub branch onto Git. And so we're going to do git fetch origin, and we're going to do git checkout update apartment to switch over to that branch. And now you'll notice I went from master branch over to update apartment branch. Okay. Now, if you see git status, we're in a clean working tree. And just to show you like how this, just to visually show you how this works. So right now I have this file in here, right? So every time you play the game, you put a name in, it'll make a file for you for your play results. Okay, we're in a clean working tree. If I make any edits in this repo directory, Git is going to know this. So if I do a git status now, it's going to say, hey, so what happened is that you deleted this, okay? And so like I said, if I went, whoops, I deleted this, I didn't want to delete this, we do git reset hard, git clean fxd. And you can Google and look it up specifically if you want to see what those mean. But basically, it'll bring you back to a clean working tree. So now if I do a git status, I'm in a clean working tree, and you see that file just popped right back up in there that I deleted. Now that file's back. So, I mean, I could say, whoops, I accidentally deleted all these files, and now the game doesn't run. I don't know what to do, for this tree. And what you can do is do a git reset hard, and you see those files just packed up. They just popped back up in there. And then we can also do a git clean dash fxd. And now our git status is we're clean. Okay, so this update apartment is a clone of the master branch, and so what we want to do is now open the game, and you always just want to make sure when you go to open the game that you're doing it from where you cloned your game at. And this game is using 2019 version, so we'll go ahead and do that. And since we changed the game, this might take a minute to rebuild the game. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a second until this finishes, and then we'll come back and keep going. Okay, now the game is just about done building, and so the Unity editor is going to come up, and like I showed you earlier, we'll go into the world map. Okay, so now let's see, what did I wanted to change the action point. So if I look at the apartment, which is, so let's say we have an apartment button, And let me see here. How does the apartment button work? Here, let's look at everything. So if we go to the buildings. Buildings, house, player home apartments, the trigger, and so in this trigger, you'll notice, and this is another thing, this is another pretty huge script to get familiar with. Um, so we'll see these messages, right? So this is like, I guess you can think of it as what happens when you talk to the apartment. So it'll say, spend some time in your apartment, yes or no, and eventually we'll get through and you'll see this says SA1 for significant actions 1. And just to show you, I'll go to this script, talk to NPC, um, and we will go to SA1. So there's this, there is a function called replace keywords that are pretty important. And whenever you're talking to NPCs, any of these special things that are in here will basically it will call the corresponding definition and execute that in the game. So basically SA1, if you see, so when this game right here, when we talk to the apartment, um, it has a trigger and there's going to be a script and you're going to talk in this script, and when we get to this SA1, what's going to happen is significant action dialog 1. What this is going to do is it's going to spend a significant action point. And right now it spends 1, and we want to spend 2. So I'm just going to make this small change. I'm going to change this 1 to a 2. Okay. And then double check that it's in there. SA2. Okay. And so we'll go ahead and save that. And I will test this in the game really quick. So I will go up over here. And so normally this will go down to 1. We're expecting it to spend both of them. You spent some time in your apartment. And cool. Action points 0. Okay, that's what we want. And you get the end of the day summary, and the next day happens. So this successfully worked, and we finished our task for our sprint that the client wanted. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and save our changes. And so now we're in the apartment branch, and we're going to do a git add. This is basically add all files, and dot is just current directory. So this is just in case any extra files are generated or added. And next we will do a git commit. And well, changed action points from 1 to 2 usage on apartment. Okay, so we're going to commit those. We're going to do that commit, and you have to do this every time. You have to do a git commit, and we will stage our changes. So now our changes are all staged and ready to go on our update apartment branch. And what we're going to do is a git push. And so now that update is now sent up to the game. And so when we come back to our main URL, we will have our update apartment, and you'll see I changed action points usage from 1 to 2, and we'll look at that, and we will see that there are some code changes in here that you can look at, and my update is finished, and I'm going to want to go to my issues now for update apartment, and you'll see that there's my little comment here, change action points spent from 1 to 2 and using apartment, and I'm all done. And so we will now close this issue. And since this issue is closed, now what we can go ahead and do is we'll go to pull requests, and now we can, as you can see right here, it says update apartment has received 3 pushes, and we can do a compare and pull request. So we'll go ahead and do this. And so just a quick overview again, we got our task from our client, which was to update the significant action points spent from 1 to 2 on the apartment. So every time you go to the apartment and you spend some time in there, you spend 2 points instead of 1. So we went ahead and we coded those changes, and when we were done, we did a git add, a git commit, and a git push. And then we went over here to our issues, which is associated with our update apartment branch, and we closed it. And so now we're all ready. Everything's nice and packaged, ready to go. We're gonna do this request, and I'm not sure, maybe most of the information is kind of already here, but you can put another comment. And so now when you do a create pull request, you're going to take this branch update apartment, and we're going to merge it into the master branch, and the master branch is the current version of the game. So if somebody at the Veteran Career Center, etc., downloads our release, this changes. You're saying I want to put this change into basically our current release of the game. So you will go ahead and do a create pull request, and so now we have a pull request and review, and it's not going to automatically happen because basically like a quality assurance person or whoever needs to review this push that I tried to make the master. So the either the client or another delegated student will look at your pull request, and they will see they can see the commits that you made. They can look at the code that was written, and they can actually go over and test and make sure everything's the way it needs to be. And once they do that, they can go ahead and finish through filling this out, and the pull request will get merged into the game. So I'll go ahead and say this is not needed in the game, and I will close with commit. So I wanted to merge my update into here, and I actually said no and closed it. But typically, what will happen is your update will get looked at and approved, and it'll be in the main game, and that is everything that you will need to know to get through any kind of development that you're going to be doing with this game. There's also a Wikipedia page for this project. It has a how-to section, and there's some useful Git commands. If you need to brush up on like how do I change branches, how do I commit changes, how do I go back, and also again you can go through and watch this video again if you have any issues submitting your pull request. Thank you.